What is up, FBG fam? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. Now, today's video is going to be a tough one, I'm not going to lie, because today's video is all about whether you should go for Hu Tao or if you should go for Ganyu. Now, the reason why we're talking about this topic is because I've gotten the question a couple of times already on who they should be going for, whether it be Hu Tao or Ganyu. And that's a great question and a tough one, I'm gonna admit, because they're both really good characters. Arguably, they both belong in the top 5, and you can argue for them being better than the other. And I can really agree with either argument that you want to place on the table. Also, the reason why people are asking this question is because we know Hu Tao's getting a rerun in 2.2 and she's going to be the second banner, and then we have patch 2.3 and there's a strong likelihood that Ganyu could be in 2.3 for her rerun, her first one, and she could be the first banner. So if you're trying to decide between the two characters, it's gonna be difficult and you have a decision to make. Now, I think I want to tackle this in a different way than I've done in the past. I think what I want to do is just highlight what both of these characters are really good at and maybe highlight some of their flaws as well, and then just have you decide which character you want to go for. Now, there are some few disclaimers we have to go over before we start. First and foremost, you go for whichever character that you like. If you've been anticipating Ganyu dropping and that's the character you really want, then this video shouldn't sway you either way, and nobody else should either. You should just go for Ganyu and grab her, because once again, both these characters are extremely good. So if you've been waiting for a Hu Tao rerun and that's your character, then you grab her and you don't let anybody else persuade you otherwise. Also, you need to take a look at your account. So let's say you like both characters equally, and then you need to take a look at your account. Do you need a strong pyro character, or do you need a strong cryo character to fill whatever you're missing? I guess then the disclaimer can be, what type of playstyle do you enjoy better? Do you enjoy a polearm user that kind of runs around and runs amok with a bunch of charge attacks going crazy and is self-sufficient as a healer? Or do you like the bow type of double charge shot, drop an elemental skill for a taunt every now and then drop a nice elemental burst that does a wide AoE? You know, these are the things that you have to consider. These are the things that you have to kind of talk about with yourself to decide, because I know a lot of people won't like GANYU'S playstyle because a lot of people find that to be boring, just double charge shotting from, you know, miles away. I kind of like it, I'm not gonna lie. I like the snipe. I'm the best archer in the game. I'm kidding. But I do like the snipe. I do like to play that range role. But I also like the way Hu Tao plays, so I like both their playstyles. So maybe you can ask yourself that and decide as well. The thing about this is that you can't go wrong either way. Whether you choose Ganyu or you choose Hu Tao, you can't go wrong. It's not a bad decision either way. It's not as if you're making the wrong decision if you choose one or the other. So those are just a few of the disclaimers that I wanted to get out of the way, so that way you have an understanding of what you should be prioritizing first, and then you can choose afterwards. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at these two characters and let's highlight some of the things that they're good at. Now, I've been talking about Hu Tao for the past couple of videos now, so if you haven't seen those videos, go ahead and check them out. Hu Tao is one of the characters that I invested heavily into, and I invested in Ganyu heavily as well. We'll get into that here in just a second, but let's talk about Hu Tao first. So, Hu Tao, and I mentioned this in the past, she's arguably one of the best pyro characters that you can obtain in the game. She fills multiple roles, whether you need her to be a sub DPS or main DPS. She's an extremely strong hitter, and she fits on just about any team because of her self-sufficiency and because of how much damage she can do and how easy she is to build. She's just such a great character, and her being pyro allows her to be on many different team comps, if not all of them, because she's able to proc some of the best elemental reactions that you can get in the game, whether it be melt or vaporize, and she's able to apply the pyro pretty consistently, and with her blood blossom she's able to do even more damage, and we'll get to that here in just a second. Like I mentioned, she's pretty free to play friendly. I mentioned this in my previous video about her builds and what you can place on her and how easily she is to build. And because you build her like a pseudo tank, because you want her max HP to be as high as possible, because that's where her damage comes from, then she's able to tank damage because her health is going to be so high. And then that also leads into her doing even more damage. If you take a look at her talents, when it comes to her elemental skill, you pop that elemental skill, it takes some health away, but it allows you to be able to do more damage. This is her bread and butter. This is where you're going to get all her damage from. and she just becomes an extremely hard hitter at that point. And then she applies what's called the Blood Blossom effect, where that Blood Blossom not only applies the pyro, but it also does tick damage, which I mentioned in past videos is pretty significant if you have it leveled up. And then her Elemental Burst is a pretty damn hard hitting Elemental Burst. The energy cost for it is pretty middle of the road, and it does give you health back for Hu Tao, so that's where she becomes self-sufficient, to where she doesn't need a healer. She heals herself, she does damage, she fills the sub DPS role, she fills the main DPS role, she fills the pyro role that you need. She does just about everything that you need a character to do. She also, within her first passive talent, has a bit of supporting capabilities where she provides crit rate by 12% for 8 seconds for your allies when she's in her elemental skill for her Paramita Papilio state. And then she also, in her second passive, gives her even more damage, pyro damage at that. And then when her health is below 50%, she does even more damage. She is tons of fun to play with as well, as you're going to be in her elemental skill, charge attacking all over the field, applying pyro to everybody, applying the Blood Blossom to everybody, doing tons of damage. And you're always tiptoeing the line between having her health really low and you're getting close to death, and then popping your Elemental Burst and getting your health back, and then going right back at it. You're going to be cycling rotations because that's how you're pretty much going to want to use Hu Tao. Pop her elemental skill, do her elemental skill, run around the field, charge attack, go crazy, and then when her elemental skill is off, switch her out, unless you want to do her elemental burst if you have it at that time, and then switch her out, bring in another character, get some elements down, applying the cryo, applying the hydro, electro, whatever the case may be, get some swirl going, bring Hu Tao back in, and then just rinse and repeat. Do it all over again. She is tons of fun, and she is really a great character. I can't say more good things about Hu Tao. She's one of my most favorite, and I just adore this character. She does have some flaws though, in the sense that, like I mentioned, you're always going to be tiptoeing that line between having her health low, so you're going to be close to death. So if you don't have a good handle on this character from the beginning, which you'll get the hang of, you may die a lot because you want her health to be below 50% because that's where you get the most damage. But that can come to bite you sometimes because you may tend to forget to look at your health, or you may not be micromanaging it because you don't really have to, like with other characters, and then you can tend to get one-shotted by a boss or whatever the case may be. But other than that, and then her elemental skill, it is on a 16-second cooldown, and it has a 9-second duration. I never really found this to be a problem because if you're doing proper rotations, it's really a non-issue. But some people might find that as a bit of a downside or a bit of a flaw. Other than that, she doesn't really have too many flaws. I'll be honest with you. She's pretty tanky because you're gonna have her health high. She does damage. She's just an amazing character. Can't say enough good things about Hu Tao. So that is that. Now, if we move over to Ganyu, Ganyu is arguably, and I think to this day, the best character in the game, or one of the best characters in the game. I won't argue against you if you want to say she is. She was definitely way ahead of her time. I will say that when Ganyu dropped, she absolutely power creeped the game tenfold. And to this day, she is just amazing. Absolutely amazing because of everything that this character does. She literally does everything. And that's one thing really quickly that I did want to mention, is that when it came to Hu Tao and when it comes to Ganyu, Genshin Impact, MiHoYo definitely made sure that these characters were, in terms of their kit, really well done. Really well done, because their kit is so well put together. It works so well, and the synergy between their elemental skills, elemental burst, the damage that they do, their supporting capabilities, their versatilities, the way that they can be on many different team comps, between Hu Tao and Ganyu, these two characters were just chef's kiss. They were done really well. So I just wanted to get that out of the way, because I seen a comment about that in my last video, and I couldn't have agreed more. So Ganyu, cryo, bow user, does stupid damage. Once again, like Hu Tao, she's a sub DPS, main DPS. She can fill the support role as well. That's one thing that she does better than Hu Tao, is that Ganyu also fills the support role as well. So if you need a character to be more of that supporting type of character, Ganyu is your girl. Hu Tao can't do it as well as Ganyu, and we're going to get into the reasons why. So Hu Tao, like I mentioned, a cryo bow user, and arguably she is more free-to-play friendly than Hu Tao in terms of build. For example, I have the prototype Crescent on Ganyu, and it works out phenomenally. I'm still doing really good damage with this weapon on her. Her artifact, she's easy to build, whether you go 4-piece Blizzard Strayer or 4-piece Wanderer's Troops, or 2-piece Blizzard Strayer and 2-piece something else. If you want to build her more support, you can go 4-piece Noblesse. It really doesn't matter when it comes to Ganyu, and you have so many different options, and that's what makes Ganyu so fun and unique, is that you can try many different builds, and you can have Ganyu fill different roles. So for example, if you're going into a boss fight and you want a supporting Ganyu for your team, well then just go ahead and slap on the 4-piece Blizzard Strayer. Or excuse me, the 4-piece Noblesse. But if you want her to be more of a hard hitter, you want Ganyu outputting more damage, be the main DPS for your team, go 4-piece Wanderer's Troop or 4-piece Blizzard Strayer, whatever the case may be. She's that versatile, and that's what's really cool about Ganyu, and very easy to build, very free to play friendly. If we take a look at her talents, I mean, there's just nothing that Ganyu can't do except healing. That's the only thing that she can't do. Ganyu, when she dropped, she came out with the double charge shot on her skill, her basic attack, and that double charge shot is just bananas. It's bonkers. It's nutty. It does way too much damage, and it's AoE. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Ganyu's double charge shot is incredible. Her elemental skill is, I think, a bit underrated by some people. It applies a taunt. It does AoE cryo damage. It's just so good. It is so good, her elemental skill with the flower. Applying that taunt to keep enemies focused on it. And then when it's done, it explodes and it applies AoE cryo damage, so it does some damage as well. And not like lackluster damage. It actually does some pretty good damage if you level it up talent-wise. Then we have her elemental burst, and her elemental burst is extremely good because the AoE is so big. It's a large AoE. It lasts for 15 seconds. It has a cooldown of 15 seconds. Its energy cost is only 60, so once again, middle of the road for most characters, so it's not difficult to get. It's just an amazing. It applies cryo consistently over a large area. It does some pretty decent damage. Her elemental burst is just, it's so good. Ganyu's so good. And then if we take a look at her first passive, after firing a Frostflake arrow, the crit rate of subsequent Frostflake arrows and the resulting bloom effects is increased by 20% for 5 seconds. She gets even more damage. She gets even more damage, more crit rate. It's just insane. She's so good. And then if we take a look at her second passive, the Celestial Shower, which is her elemental burst, grants a 20% cryo damage bonus to active party members in the AoE. So if you have another party member that is cryo, they're getting even more cryo damage bonus. So applies more supporting capabilities for the team as well. Outside of her elemental skill and her elemental burst, she has the second passive built in also. So Ganyu all around, just a phenomenal character. Once again, I can't say enough good things about Ganyu, and she's fantastic at C0. You don't need any constellations on her. If I was to point out any flaws, is that she may be a bit squishy, so you could get one-shotted pretty easily or take a lot of damage. Outside of that, there's not too many flaws that you can point to when it comes to Ganyu. She's just a phenomenal character. She is so good in so many different areas. She fits in every team comp. You would definitely want to max her talents out to the best of your abilities. Definitely a character that you would want to obtain on your team. Arguably the best cryo character that you can obtain on your team. Just between these two, that's why it's such a tough decision, and I think that's why so many people are on the fence, especially with these characters getting a rerun. If you missed out on them on the first time, it's very difficult. Now, I do have to say, I should have said this at the beginning of the video, I don't have any confirmation if Ganyu is going to be in 2.3. My best recommendation is just to wait a couple of days after Hu Tao's banner drops. I know how difficult that's going to be for a lot of people, but we may get information about 2.3 while we're in the middle of Hu Tao's rerun banner. My recommendation would be just to hold off to see what is coming in 2.3, if we get any information regarding it, and if there is a Ganyu rerun, then you can go back to your tough decision making and deciding on what you want to do. But I understand why people are having such a hard time. I understand why, especially for free-to-play players and light spenders, why this can be such a difficult decision, especially if you missed out on them the first time around, because you don't want to miss out on them a second time around. And whether that be Hu Tao or Ganyu, it's tough. It is really tough. I love both of these characters, and I'm going to leave it up to you. Once again, for me, if you're asking me personally what I would do, I would just, me personally, I love both characters. For me, it would boil down to what I would need more of. Do I need more of a pyro character to fill that pyro role, or do I need a cryo character to fill my cryo role? The only problem about that is that pyro and cryo are the two most abundant elements in the game, and they have arguably some of the best characters in the game. If we take a look at some of the pyro characters that we have characters such as Klee, such as Diluc, such as Yanfei, Xinyan. We have all these great pyro characters that fill so many different roles. Yoimiya, that it's just such an abundance of pyro. And then we take a look at cryo. We have Ayaka that just recently dropped, fantastic. We have Chi-Chi, we have Rosaria, we have Chongyun. Like, we have so many good cryo. Kaya, you know, you get Aloy for free. Diona, like, so many good cryo characters. That Eula, oh my goodness, how could I almost forget about Eula? Eula mains, don't come after me. I promise I was gonna notice her. It's just, it's incredible. I think cryo may be a little more deep and have slightly better characters than pyro, so you might be, you know, lacking in the pyro department. At the end of the day, it's up to you guys. It's, use those disclaimers first and then decide. Anyways, I know this video may not have helped you decide what to do, but I think if you use the disclaimers once again. Anyways, guys, I do hope you enjoyed the video today. I do hope you like what you saw. I hope I wasn't all over the place and convoluted. I just wanted to highlight both of these characters. Like I mentioned before, you can't go wrong either way. They're both great. They're both fantastic. Pick who you want to pick. If you have the ability to go for both, go for both. They're both great. And once again, we don't have confirmation about Ganyu in 2.3. We just have to wait and see. That rhymed. I'm going to get on out of here. Remember to stand out, be different, have fun, go further beyond in everything that you do. And until next time, my boys, until next time, it's your homie Cody, and I'm out. Bye, guys.